Good evening, brothers and sisters. This is War Smith with the Black News Network, bringing you the news from a Black perspective. This is the real voice of Military City, USA. I do not own the rights to the music, but I do own the rights to what I say. So let's get cracking. Is this a hostage situation? Is this an active shooter situation? Or is this a barricade situation? It seems that we have such confusion when it comes to determining what we are actually working on. I mean, it kind of, when we talk about the city of Uvalde and the situation that happened down there, we got quite a bit of a controversy and conspiracy going on. It took a very long time for them to tell us anything going on about that shooting at Robb Elementary School. Now, this is on the tail end of the war in Ukraine and the United States sending tons of money to Ukraine. This is on the tail end of the Buffalo, New York shooting, where several Black people were killed. And now we got the Robb Elementary School shooting. Now let's go down the timeline of what actually happened so we can understand what actually happened. Now, the man that did all this stuff, he had shot his grandmother, jumped in her truck, drove towards the school, not necessarily going to the school, but that was the closest access for him. So he drove that car with the police knowing that he's running from them and they chasing him. And he ended up wrecking the car in a sewage drain and jumping out the car, grabbing two AR-15s and a couple of handguns. And now he runs toward the school. So he just happened to run to the door that was unsecure. So all these coincidences. Now, where were the police when he got out of their truck and grabbed his other two guns when they were on a pursuit of him when he left his grandmother's house? So where were the police then? Secondly, he gets to that door and the school safety officer confronts him. But the school safety officer couldn't do anything and didn't do anything. So the killer ran on into the school. Now, first of all, let's figure out how that door was left open. That door was open because of a cell phone. The door was left open because of a cell phone. One of the teachers went out the door and left the door cracked so she can grab her cell phone. So when she came back in, she did not ensure that the door was shut. So now you got a breach security issue at that school. Now, why is it that there is nothing hooked to that door to tell you that that door is open? Mind you, Joe Clark, huh? Joe Clark went as far as chaining up the doors at his high school because he didn't want people coming into his school bringing drugs or coming in when they weren't authorized. Everybody had to come in through the front door. But then you see how the police department, the mayor's office, and the fire department attacked him for securing that school. But the fact is, he did it. He secured the school. He stopped the drug dealers from coming into school. This is Joe Clark I'm talking about. Joe Clark did what he was supposed to do, but at the expense of him almost losing that job as principal. Now this gunman is inside the school. He runs and really broke the key off in the door so you couldn't get it open. And they got the little blind on the little window that you can see in the door. They let the blind down. They do a lot of these little things to keep the children alive. The children are on the floor, and normally they're going to be screaming and hollering, but in this situation, The teacher's responsibility is to keep those children quiet. And that's what most of the teachers did. Even though he had broken his way into this classroom, he went in there with malicious intent to kill students because he already know he's fixing to die. So he's in the school. He was in that school 40 minutes before anybody showed up in that school to get rid of him. And in that 40 minutes, 19 students and 3 teachers were killed. These are little bitty kids, 10 years old, 9 years old. And this is America. This is the United States of America. And we have seen this thing over and over again. I think this is school shooting with mass casualties number 8. Number 8. Now, the United States ought to be better than that. We got a Congress up there that sitting up there like fat ass cats, just getting paid and ain't doing a damn thing. Now, they gave the military a 4% raise, but they gave themselves a 20% raise the last budget. But when it comes to gun law, they all in bed with the NRA. Now, the NRA gives them money, the people up in Washington, D.C. The NRA gives them a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars, to include Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has gained a lot of money from the NRA people. And that's the sad part, because the NRA is the very reason we do not have any gun control laws and in our laws from the United States government. We have some, like the Brady law, but we don't have very many. A kid can go in and buy a long gun at the age of 18. At the age of 18. And this guy bought those assault rifles at the age of 18. Now, again, here we go, not talking about parents that have children that they don't connect with, and they don't know what the children are doing. Now, he had to put those guns somewhere. I guarantee you he put them in that house until he was ready to do what he did. He had assault rifles with thousands of rounds of ammunition. Yes, he did. Okay, so now it takes them 40 minutes, the police, to go inside the school. They are, I have to say this, they are trained law enforcement officers. Their job is to protect and serve the citizens. In this particular case, the law enforcement failed, because there is a clip out there where the parents told them to go in and they would not go in. So the parents started to put their little team together to go in and save those kids within that 40-minute period. Somebody told them not to go in, or they told themselves not to go in. And then what really made this situation really bad, in another hour, you had 50 cops there, 50 people in uniform standing around outside that school in the goddamn way. 50. And then in another hour, you had 100. And I bet you these officers going to go back to their precincts and their stations, and some dumbass going to try to give them an award for showing up for this child massacre. And that's exactly what it was, a child massacre, with the police standing by, letting these children die. So I don't blame the parents for calling the police cowards, because in this situation, they were freaking cowards. Now let's go to Buffalo, New York just for a second. The police brought this killer out of the store, the top store, and gently put him in the car. And then there's rumors that there were 4 officers, I seen the name somewhere, walking around laughing that this guy got away with it, that he was able to go in there and do this. Now look at this too. In Buffalo, New York, what? Black people. In Uvalde, Texas, Mexicans and Hispanic. My point is, because it's Mexican and Hispanic, they had no big priority to get in that school. Because it's black people in Buffalo, New York, they had no big priority to risk their lives to go in there and get that shooter. And rumor has it that only two officers went in to get this taken care of. These two officers ended up getting shot or grazed before they killed him. And then this is what I hear, that these two officers were off duty. These were off-duty officers that went in there because they were not under this bullshit jurisdiction that the police out there trying to tell the parents, oh, we can't go in right now. You can't go in either. So the parents say, F y'all, I'm finna go in and take care of get my kid out of there. And then when they finally got a chance to go in, this is 40 minutes later, they spent another 30 minutes on top of that 40 minutes, figuring out what keys go where. In other words, to me, they were stalling. They did not want to go in there because they felt that their lives would be in danger, just as the kids were. But these chicken shit ass police officers let those children die. They let those children die. And don't think it's just Uvalde police officers. It's all the other ones that showed up like damn Lone Ranger, like they're going to do some shit. And they did nothing. And that's what they do anytime something happens. Everybody show up, they want to put their sirens on and drive 95 miles an hour to get somewhere. And then they get there and they don't do a freaking thing. They don't do shit. That's the type of people we have on the police force right now. But let them have a black person with no weapon, they're going to bust a cap in his ass or her ass too. But if it's a white person, look at what they do. They escort them to the car and take them to jail. And then all them people got killed in Buffalo. They only want to charge this white boy with one incident of murder or whatever they want to call it. But they only want to put one incident on him when he killed 12 people, 9 or 12 people. My point is, America is full of shit, and they are not being upright and righteous towards black people nor Mexicans. And the biggest fear that they should have right now as the American white elite is Mexicans and blacks teaming up, because eventually that's going to happen. It is too many things happening in our culture that should not be happening, that should be protected. And it's happening because of the status quo. Kids that are going into these schools doing the stuff they do, they are fed up too. They don't like the situations they're in. They don't like the education system because they're coming up with all kind of bullshit not to teach them the real history of America, like this critical race theory. That's what they're doing. I'm here to tell you that this is some sad shit. 30 minutes looking for keys and 40 minutes inside. The shooter was in there by him damn self. 40 minutes. They're trying to redirect this whole thing to mental health. Of course, mental health is part of anybody that go into a school with a gun got a mental health problem. But that is not the issue here. The issue is, how did that 18-year-old boy get 2 assault rifles? 1, how did that 18-year-old boy get into that school? 2, how did that 18-year-old boy wreck his grandmother's truck? 3, how did all this shit happen and the police was nowhere to be found? But you get an innocent black person walking down the street, they're going to tase him and put the cuffs on him and put his ass in jail for no damn reason. They quick to jump on black folks, but they damn sure wasn't quick to save them kids. They let them die. And that's strictly on the police force. Not the parents, the police force who is there to protect our kids and any other citizen that need protecting. They should be ashamed. They should be disciplined and reprimanded and fired for being a fucking coward. Steve Kerr said it. He said it. He's tired of it. All these white folks sitting up there in the Senate don't do shit because we got a Democratic president. Look at what they did when Obama was in the White House. They didn't do shit then. Now we got another Democratic president. They ain't gonna do shit now. Sit on their white fat asses and don't do a damn thing. That's our freaking Senate. And it's a damn shame that we used to be the idol or the people where everybody looked at to get ideas to run their countries. But shit, people shouldn't look here now because America is sitting on his ass too damn much and ain't getting shit done. You're allowing all this shit to happen. You're allowing the police to continue to kill black people. You won't pass the George Floyd law. You probably think you just did that after the top shooting. But look how long it took your ass. That is so damn asinine. That is so sad that our police force and our Congress are 2 peas in a bucket, ain't shit. That's a damn shame. This is not a mental health issue, although that is a subpart of what is actually happening. Now here it is, several days after the Robs Elementary School shooting. We got Joe Biden down there today. He landed in San Antonio, then he took a helicopter there. But the people in charge are misleading the public. They are misleading the public. They did this shit so many times up in front of those people with dead children. It's not even funny. It ain't nowhere near funny. It's incompetent. And then they bring out the big guns, man, with the Colonel tabs on his shirt, making all that damn money and up there lying to the damn people because he don't know shit either. Lying to the people that just had their children murdered. Everybody should be fired from that colonel on down because they full of shit, and the federal government should go in and take over that city. It's something they call it, I forget, but the federal government has the authority to go in and take over a city, even to take over a state. They have that authority. But it has, for that I know, the only place it was done was in Louisiana during the Katrina issue. The federal government took control of the government in that city. And that's what happens when the government of a city becomes corrupt and sorry and lazy and incompetent. And that's what the problem is in Uvalde. By the end of the day, over 100 police officers were there. Why? Why? One guy with 2 assault rifles, 100 police over here, one guy over here. Now, none of those cops had something to do. Nobody had anything to do. They stood around looking like idiots. They look really bad standing there, not doing a policeman's job. And many of them went there to get notoriety, to get their name put in the paper, to get an interview with some of the news reporters. Many of them did that. They went there to get their name on the book saying that they were there at the school shooting. There's no way anybody in charge should have allowed that many police officers up there just standing around, not doing anything. I could go on and on all day about this, but we all know what I'm talking about. We all know that these police ain't shit and they are cowards. We know this. That's why it takes so many of them all the time to kill a black man. And they don't say shit about how they did it wrong. They just do it and get away with it. They don't give a shit. You can buy a long gun at the age of 18, which is the wrong thing to do. And these Congress people should be able to take care of that, but I doubt it. How many children must die? I mean, this is not going to be the last time this happens because America is going down. Seems like every month there's something new to cause us to slip just a little bit lower on the reality standard, on the ethical standard, on the good place to be standard. It is more safe in Mexico than it is here in the United States. Detroit and Chicago had more murders than the entire country of Mexico. So you think the cartels are bad, right? But the cartels are bad, but they're doing good too. That's why they're not killing as much as they do. But once you go against them, they're going to be killing somebody. You don't get in their way. And that's what a lot of officers, dignitaries, and people did when they went to when they went into office. Back in 1865, the Emancipation Proclamation was passed, and that's all we hear about. The Emancipation Proclamation freed all the slaves. Emancipation Proclamation freed all the slaves. Later that year, on June 19th, the Texas slaves got notified that they were free. So they were notified 90 to 120 days later, even though the plantation owners knew that they were no longer slaves. So now you've released all those slaves and you create an amendment, which is the 13th Amendment. And the 13th Amendment abolished slavery for sure, but they did not stop it. They said if you're not doing right, they can involuntarily put you in servitude. So that means you got to serve the state or the county or the country that you're in or where you committed the crime at. That's what they did. And they did it as a way to continue to get free labor from slaves. The 13th Amendment, we run around clapping our hands because we got slavery abolished, but we did not get slavery abolished. It was still there, just a different form, which is what they do all the damn time. They misdirect the true information, and they fail to give us the true information, and then they execute it. And we don't know the damn better. We don't know. Why am I here? That's the exact reason I'm here, to try to put information out that people don't actually pay attention to. That's why I'm here today on Sundays at 3:30 with the Black News Network, trying to tell you what is going on out here in America with us. So this is the birth of Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws is stuff like loitering, vagrancy, looking at a white woman. That's for real. Looking at a white woman, you get put in jail. Walking on the sidewalk, when white folks walking on sidewalks, you can get put in jail just for doing that. Standing around, loitering around any place of business, trying to get a job, the police can arrest you and call it loitering, give you a sentence in jail. That's how they've been doing all along since the 1800s. They still do that. Look how many people they have put in jail over a joint. A marijuana cigarette, you got 5 years. This three-strike law that Bill Clinton came up with was bullshit because 90% of the people that got caught up in it were black people. 3 strikes you out, you're going to get a jail sentence. No matter what. If they caught you with a roach, you know, you grown-ups know what I'm talking about when I say a roach. You going to jail for 5 years plus. So they populated the prison system. Now, here it is, 1865, the 13th Amendment being passed. All the slaves are walking off the plantation. Some of them stayed now, but many of them left the plantation with nothing but the religion. Now, what happened there? I'm just giving you a whole lot of history about why it's like this, why we are like this in America. When the slaves came to the plantation, it was the slave owner's duty, and he made it his duty because he enjoyed breaking people, just like you break a horse. You see how they break horses in the pen? They ride the horse till he'll ride like he's supposed to ride, and then the horse, just a blind zombie from that point on, he'll do whatever the hell you tell him to do because you broke him. They applied the same concept to black slaves. They broke them. And like you saw Toby, his name was Kunta Kinte, and everybody wanted him to say Toby. So they beat his ass until he said Toby. And he finally said it because torture, you can hold out for a minute, but you're not going to hold out till your ass getting tore up all the time. You're going to do what you need to do to get through. Because if you don't, they're going to kill you. They were killing them slaves that were too bold to do what they intended for them to do. So they took the name of the people, they took the race of the people, the culture of the people, they took it all. They took the religion of the people. And now once they stripped them down to nothing but working in the damn field and going back to your hut, working in the field, going back to your hut, sun up to sun down, and work until you die, the Holocaust. The one that was not documented. Because it's in America and it was done to black people. This is the Holocaust that was not documented. That's what slavery was. That's exactly what it was. Things happened just like it did on the documented one, plus some. The difference is they were free before they became Holocaust victims. Slaves were never free. That is the true Holocaust. But y'all white folks don't want to give credit to where it should be done. That's the problem. We come through the 13th Amendment. We start the vagrancy laws. In a matter of 20 years, the population of the not Mississippi, but the United States prisons had 95% white people in it prior to 1865. After 1865, by the 1900s, the 95% was on black people. They had to be putting hundreds of black people in jail every single day. So as soon as you walked out the plantation, you got charged with something and got put in jail. Now, the plantation owners, still winning, they comes over to the prison, sign a contract, take 40 slaves or 40 prisoners out of the prison from any plantation. He'd say he pays for them, he get them. take them to his plantation and work the shit out of them again. For nothing again. For nothing again. Even after 1865. So the 13th Amendment didn't do a freaking thing for black people. It's a sorry ass amendment because they know exactly what they be doing when they write this shit. It's a double-edged sword. What you think white America gonna do when you free enslaved? They gonna come up with some more bullshit that F us over, which is what happened. Being free was a criminal act. If you standing around looking for work, all this kind of stuff that you did as a free slave became a criminal offense. Even if you tried to register to vote, it was a criminal offense, and they would put you in jail. So in 1866, now this was 1865 for the 13th Amendment. In 1866, Congress passed the Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act made it possible for the government to, or any citizen, any white citizen, to make a contract, to write a contract, to execute a contract, and to enforce a contract. It also gave the white people the opportunity to purchase, sell, and lease property. Now, they already had these rights. They already had the right to make contracts. They already had the right to sell, lease property. So why do you think they wanted to have this on the books? Because they wanted to apply it to slaves. That's why. So the Civil Rights Act of 1866 made it legal for white people in the United States to make contracts with the prison system and take people out and make them work. That's what it did. It made contracts with the plantation owners to take people out. Now he could sublease or subcontract them prisoners to any plantation he wanted. He could take them all out. The prison would allow him to do it because the prison paid, the landowner paid the prisons. And so the people who made more money are the people who were leasing slaves out of the prison. They paid the jailing system little money, and then they worked the shit out of the slave, and they got paid big royalties for the crop that they produced, and they became rich on the backs of slaves again. So here it is. We've been enslaved more than once. More than once. We were enslaved after we were freed, and we were enslaved before we were freed. So technically, we ain't never been free. Prisons had the right to lease property back to the plantation owner, and that was the problem. The next thing came up was the 14th Amendment. So we went from the 13th Amendment to the Civil Rights Act, and now the 14th Amendment. It was, if you were born in America, it made you a United States citizen. You could have a green card or you could be born here. They didn't make that for slaves either. They made that for the immigrants coming from overseas, like Germany, Scotland, Irish, all these other people that came to the United States could come in and have children and be born here. And now they got a United States birth certificate, which becomes property of the corporation. So now if you're born, you become automatic citizens. And I think Donald Trump was having something to say about that too. I think they may have changed it. It also gave voting rights to any male over 21. Now, this is where they effed up because they had no idea that black people were going to register to vote and start voting just like they were. So they under no circumstances did they want to give black people the same playing field that they had. You had to stay in the blocks till they run 25 laps, and then you take off. And that's how they got so far in advance of us. And that's why you see white folks now with all the businesses, all the money, all the corporations, just everything. You name a company that's big, I guarantee you it's done by white folks. Just like the NFL, all white owners. The NBA, I think they got one black owner. All these things white folks are in charge of as a result of benefiting from what their ancestors did. So today, they are the recipients of our slave labor. They are the recipients of us going through a Holocaust. That's what they did. And that's where we are. So when they did the voting rights to over 21, they couldn't go back, or they didn't go back and change the 14th Amendment. So what they decided to do from that point is to create the Ku Klux Klan, because they refused to redo the 14th Amendment. The Congress did. And when they decided not to do the 14th Amendment, it gave blacks the right to do what they were doing. So with the 14th Amendment came the KKK. And they started intimidating black people, killing black people, lynching black people, burning black people, castrating black people. And somebody said that when they castrate a black male, they'd go give the product to the wife. And I say today, as I said a year ago, that I will bet money that many of these households, 1 out of every 10 white folks' household, got a body part from a black person in their house, in a jar, probably in vinegar or something. But think about it. Why did they cut off all these pieces of black people? And they had the little girls there, the little boys there. They got the Klan little uniform on the little 10-year-old. They bred racism. They bred bigots. They actually hated us being on the same playing field. But yet they go to church on Sunday and worship the God Almighty, come out of church and kill niggas. That's what they do. I seen a movie once where they came out of church and went in under the car seat and put the Klan uniform on and went to work. That's how bad it is. If a black person gets accused of anything, back 60 years, this wasn't that long ago, 60 years ago, black person get accused of anything having to do with a white woman, everybody gets up in a roar and they want to go kill the whole town, everybody that's in the black community. And the worst part about all this here stuff where they go kill everybody like they did Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that's about 50 other places here in the country that they did this to. When they did that, they allowed black people, or they pushed black people off the voting registers. White men did not want black men to vote. And so they stopped them from voting. They started killing, hanging, doing all that stuff. But I guarantee you there's body parts in these houses. And they're not going to ever tell you that they are, because they're ashamed of it. But they're not ashamed so far where they will throw it away or bury it. That's why they are so evil and they're so full of hate, because the devil is in their house. And those little jars of black people body parts are cursing them. They are cursed to their soul because they maintain something that is wrong, pieces of human beings in their homes. I bet you it's there. Start going to these estate sales and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll find all kinds of things that they used to bring down slaves. Okay, the 15th Amendment was cut in 1870. The 15th Amendment in 1870 removed black people from the voting registers, made it illegal for black people, for white women, and black women to vote. Now we get into the Civil Rights Act of 1870. Now that's the second Civil Rights Act, you know. It came up with the Ku Klux Klan, and that the Constitution of the United States of America does not apply to black people who were formerly enslaved. See what it says? The Constitution of the United States of America does not apply to black people who were formerly slaves. That's pretty damn sad that they went to that extent as to write a Civil Rights Act. It ain't no damn civil rights for us, it's civil rights for them, for white folks. It's not for us. It is not for us. And that's really sad about America. And I say again, America is going down because they will not acknowledge the damage that they did to us as black people. Now, I'm not saying we're the only ones they did damage to. It's a whole bunch of them that have been damaged, different races. But 99% of the time, the white race did it. Africa was doing just fine before the white people showed up on their shore. These communities like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street was doing just fine before the white people got jealous of the way they were growing. And then they put together a mob and they kill black people. Now, Tulsa, Oklahoma finally has admitted and apologized, but they have yet to issue out the money that they owe them black people, just like the United States. The United States ain't even acknowledged the shit they did to us in slavery. They never will. You know what, they might. I ain't gonna say they never will. Maybe not in my lifetime, but if we keep allowing the police to do what they do, what reason do they have to acknowledge what they've done to us when they're still doing it? They're still killing black people by the hundreds. They're still incarcerating black people by the hundreds. They're not doing us any favors, letting us live where we want to live, and then they paint nigger on the garage door telling nigger get out of my neighborhood. There are some neighborhoods that are strictly white. And I'll ask this question again. I want to know, where is there a black community where there's nothing but black people? Where in America can we find a black community where there's nothing but black people? I would love to know where, and I would love to live there, because I want to get out of all of this, because it's wrong, and I got to watch my shoulders all the damn time, just like you do, because you can become a victim when you ain't even supposed to be a victim, especially here in America. Some of the black people are moving to Mexico, and they are thriving in Mexico. That's something that people can look into as well. Other African countries offer a stipend for you to move to their country. You can do some of these things if you choose to leave America. That's why America is dying, because nobody wants to be here anymore. And the people that want to be here understand what they can get by being here. It's money floating around, and this money ain't worth a damn dime, because they print money like 40 going east. They ain't got nothing to back this damn money up. You know, if they did, we'd know something about it. They built Fort Knox. The portray, everything is a portrayal by this country. They make all this effort to make it look like they the shit, but in reality, if you swipe away the snow, they ain't shit. They ain't doing shit. Like they pledging all this damn money to Ukraine. And normally, let's say a rocket launcher costs $25,000. they selling it to Ukraine for $90,000. So therefore, the money that they're providing to Ukraine makes it little. They're getting little stuff. They're not getting enough. But since all this school shooting and that grocery store shooting happened, you haven't really heard that much about Ukraine. I'm about to call him Hitler. Putin ain't letting up. He got millions of soldiers to dispose of at his disposal. And if he doesn't want to quit fighting, he doesn't have to. And really, let me tell you something that most people haven't thought about. When Donald Trump was in office, he asked the president of Ukraine to give him information on Joe Biden and Joe Biden's son. The president of Ukraine told him not no, but hell to the no, I ain't giving you shit. So if Donald Trump had won the election, Ukraine wouldn't have gotten attacked. Because Donald Trump lost the election, because Ukraine didn't give him the information to help him disqualify Joe Biden, Russia made it up to Donald Trump by attacking Ukraine. Sound like a conspiracy? Well, it is a conspiracy. But you all know that this is what happened, that Donald Trump had asked them for information, and they didn't get it. And Putin and Donald Trump were good buddies. So you know the drill. You know how that goes. That's what happened. Who protects your neighborhood? Do you have a neighborhood? You know, if you look out, stand out your door, walk out your door, look around, where are your neighbors? Do you have a neighborhood, or do you just have a place of residence? Most people just have a place of residence. They don't give a shit about the people around them because they all different. They are different. The only neighborhoods that thrive are those pure neighborhoods with one race in it. And I guarantee you, there are races here in San Antonio with one race neighborhoods. There are places here in this city with one race neighborhoods. Big ones, big money. Stone Oaks, Castle Hill, the Dominion. There's other places. If you're going towards Kerrville, no blacks. Mexicans are starting to creep in. Like in Mississippi, Mount Bayou used to be the one black place where all blacks were there. Medical doctors, nurses, farmers, grocery store owners, everything in that city was black. But now everything in that city seems like it's converting to Mexican. That's what's happening now in our country. Mexicans are everywhere. Just like we see a Chinese in every little town with a store, Mexicans are starting to do that too with a restaurant in every little town. I'm asking myself, I grew up in a little town called Inverness, 590 people, but we had 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 Chinese stores. We had Jim G, we had Wang's, we had Pon's, we had Woo's. That's what we had. Woo, Wang, Pon, and Jim G. That's what we had. We had 4. And all the black people use those places to shop. How come they can come in and open up these businesses in our community and take our money and never give back to the community? Those Asian people in my little hometown have never, 100% of the time, given anything back to the community. Never. Never have. And that's everywhere they go. They take your money and they send it overseas. Why is it every black neighborhood or a black place where it used to be neighborhoods got a liquor store, got a high-priced damn corner store, and got a cheap, dilapidated-ass hotel? And they all ran by foreign people. Chinese, Japanese, Indian. Black people don't own shit. If you lived in a hotel recently, you'll know what I'm talking about. Last month or this month, I lived in nine. I didn't live. I spent the night in 9 hotels. 9 hotels had Indian owners. 9 hotels had Indian owners. What the F is going on here in America? Black people don't own shit. Indians have taken over the hotel scene and we ain't did shit about it. White people own the grocery stores. Only one you see here in Texas, Kroger's, Albertson, HEB. That's it. They own it. We don't own shit. What big corporation do we own? If you know one, please let me know, because I don't know nothing that black people own. I don't know. We make white people rich. We make them rich because we don't think twice about spending our money with them, but we think 3 times before we spend it with a black person. We got restaurants, black restaurants. We got little things like restaurants that we're leasing and shit like that, but we don't go and support them. You go in a Mexican restaurant here in the city of San Antonio, I'll put $100 on it. There is not one black in one restaurant in this city working in a Mexican restaurant. They do not hire black people, but they had their clientele can be full of black people up in that damn restaurant. And black people don't think nothing wrong with that. They go in there every freaking day and spend their damn money, and not a fucking soul in there black. That's the kind of stuff that I don't like. I haven't eaten in a Mexican restaurant in the last 2.5, 3 years. I quit when I figured out what the hell I saw. And you got one of these damn restaurants on damn near every corner. And black people go there so much they got their own table. They regulars. Bunch of bullshit. There's 2 things going on in America that you need to be aware of, and that is the replacement theory. We white people think this is what's happening right now. We are replacing them, but they still own all the goddamn wealth. We ain't got it. Critical race theory. They don't want to teach our history because they don't want people to know how treacherous they are, how soulless they are, how dirty they are, and how inhumane they are. They don't want you to know. Georgia elections coming up. And in Georgia, the election, a record number of black people already turned out, even though they redistrict, they shut down voting booths. They did a whole lot of shit to keep black people from voting. Changed the ID requirement. They still came out in thousands. So we're looking at Stacey Abrams to become the governor of Georgia when they start voting for the governor. She won the runoff for the Democratic Party, and the incumbent, the person that's in there now, won for the Republican Party. And the Trump-backed candidate didn't do shit. He got kicked out early. Mission to end poverty. You hear all these missions about people saying, well, we're going to end poverty. You hear a governor, a mayor, or a city council person talking about they're going to end poverty or they're going to end homelessness. Put your foot in their ass, because they telling a damn lie. They ain't ending shit. They're just doing it because they know that those are some of the major problems we have in the city. And talking about ending it, it's not going to happen. Some of these people want to be outside. You may get 5, 10 people off the street. You may give them a hotel like they fixing to do on the east side right now. Every time they want to replace or place homeless people, they want to place them on the east side. Now you got all this damn city. Why is that every time it comes up, they're going to do it on the east side? And then the city council person too damn stupid to know that they don't need to be doing it on the east side. They need to do it somewhere else. You know, these damn freaking people run for that office and they win because they're a popular person, but they don't know shit about governing. And that's the problem. They're in these damn offices because they want to look good and want to be somebody, but they don't want to do shit for you. They ain't doing shit for their district, especially the one for District 2. What the hell has he done for District 2? Not a damn thing, but brought these damn homeless people over there. But they tried to put some of the migrants over at Second Baptist, and somehow they shut that down. They didn't allow that to happen. So it's happening. Biden said if China attacks Taiwan, U.S. will defend Taiwan. He said it 3 times. But now they're trying to walk that back, like we're not supposed to go into war with China. Now, they're trying to start the Third World War. You know, Putin started it when he said he was going to attack Ukraine, and he did. And you know, people thinking that the U.S. was going to get involved and help these other countries against Russia. Nope. Now, China trying to take over Taiwan or talking shit about taking it over, and the U.S. saying they're not going to let it happen. So what does that mean? That means that the U.S. and China bumping heads right now over territory. So let's see who gonna get it. North Korea sending up nuclear bombs, busting them in the air, messing up the ozone layer. China doing their shit, and Russia doing their shit. Ted Cruz, which is the sorriest damn senator I ever known, and I can't understand why people still vote for this asshole, because he's just a stupid mofo to me. He said he loved Donald Trump. He said it in Alabama. I love Donald Trump. And everybody started laughing. That's a sad thing to do. Just a little bit more on that shooting in Uvalde. Do you remember how the information came out? Oh, first thing they said, 14 dead, 1 teacher. Then it came out 18 dead, 2 teachers. Then these are hours apart now. How long do you think it took them to give a concise, decent report? It took them more than 48 hours. How can you allow those bodies to be laid in their school 48 hours? That's what's got to happen. People have to go in there and clean that up. They have to get those children and take them over to the funeral home. And everybody that has to move those bodies going to be traumatized, because anybody who's seen that scene in there going to be traumatized, because that is what you don't want to see in America, babies getting killed. It is so sad that these young folks got killed over there. I don't care what color they are. That should have been better protection. And that teacher that went out that door for her cell phone need her ass kicked too for leaving the damn door open. Police do not have the courage to take action. They have the courage to beat black, but they don't have the courage to stop something like what happened in Uvalde. They don't. They don't have the leadership capacity or capability. The people in leadership positions got to be them leaders because they know everybody and they voted for them. And they look the look. And the look is, if you tall and you white and you got a thin face, you in there, buddy. That's what they want. Tall, white, thin face, white boys. They put them in there. Now, in 1963, the black women started, Martin Luther King started all the civil rights stuff. So everybody's marching to get black people qualified to vote. Everybody's marching doing that. There was a nationwide movement. So what do you think happened? J. Edgar Hoover knew that this was going to be a problem for America with his homosexual ass. He got the women, or he dispatched people to get the women to the white women to come in and say they want voting rights. So in actuality, the white women taking off their bras and shit took over the civil rights march to get black people to vote. So at the end of the day, the civil rights marches in the 1963, 64, 65 area is talked about as where women got the right to vote. But nobody mentions what black people did to get this thing off the ground, like John Lewis and walking across the Pettis Bridge in Selma. You know, all this stuff happened because of black people. But after they done weathered the storm and got killed here and there, the white women come over and take the shit over nationwide and act like this their shit. And we don't do nothing about it because we can't, or they couldn't at the time. You have a room full of leaders, and out of all those damn leaders, probably one in there that know how to lead. In America, we are being indoctrinated into some bullshit that we do not want to be indoctrinated into. And we want to know that we can be safe here in America. We want to know that our children can be safe here in America. And I think they're really trying to scare us into not having as many children as we're having because they are going extinct. You know about Noah. Noah was an individual by himself who built the ark. And everybody in that city was against him, and they didn't want him to build that ark. But he built it anyway because God told him to. Saul killed thousands of people. David killed tens of thousands of people. Now, I just wanted to mention those three because those three individuals did things the way they wanted to do it, and they became stars or historical leaders. Everybody know David, everybody know Saul, and everybody know Noah's story. That's something that we have lost. We have lost that individuality where one person can fight their way through all this mess. This is why I created the Black News Network. So I, as one person, can do what I can do to help my people, just like Noah, just like Saul, and just like David. I'm not nowhere near them, but I'm trying. What are you doing? Are you out there trying to make a difference in people's lives? Have you bought my book, Leave the Dirt in the Cotton Field? If you haven't, you should buy one. Help me help you. Help me to help you. Kids now are terrified to go to school. They're traumatized and they are living with PTSD. So my thought is I hope that you start to teach your kid about these things that happen in school. Teach them how to survive, how to get under the desk, how to go for the window and get out. You got to teach your kids these things. We are the ones to protect our children. And the reason there was no protection for those fourth graders is because there were no parents in the school at that time. Now, they had been there earlier, but they left. So what I'm saying is parents need to be inside the school just like anywhere else. But when they started to desegregate schools and move black people all over the city to other schools, it limited the access of parents being in the school because most black people could go walk down the street for a quarter mile and there's your school. You can go sit in there all day because your house is right down the street. But nowadays, our children are all over the damn city and we don't know what the hell they're doing from one day to the next while they're in school. We may go to that school one time on teacher-parent PTA meeting night. That's it. But what's happening all the other time when they're abusing your children at these schools and not protecting your children at these schools? After all these damn school shootings, why haven't all these rooms in any school been built to withstand a terrorist attack? A man with a gun, basically, not a bomb, but a man with a gun. Why haven't all these schools changed the doors out in these classrooms and put terrorist resistant doors on all these classrooms? If people had taken actions after Sandy Hook, after all these other school shootings, and done some things like that, they don't want to listen to black people. See, that's the damn problem. We know how to fix this shit, but we are not going to be consulted until there's about 5 or 10 more school shootings. Then they're going to start saying, well, maybe we should invite some black people to this meeting and let them give us some answers. And I bet you ain't nobody thought of what I just said, put some damn steel doors on these classrooms, put something on these doors so they can't break them in. And those kids would have lived if they had steel doors on the classrooms. Put self-locking doors on the classroom. When they close, it's locked. But the kids can push the bar and get out, but you can't come in there unless some of them kids let you in, or the teacher lets you in. Put a buzzer on the door with a buzzer. The teacher got a buzzer up there at her desk. There are so many ways to protect these children, and we're responsible for protecting these children. Take it to the school and tell them what they can do to fix it. And if you're smart about it, you'll get the contract to change it out. They are terrified of what's happening now. Mitch McConnell got identified by Kerr, said he's an asshole and he ain't doing shit. Power grid this summer coming up, and that's going to be an issue. I want to say thank you for listening to the real voice of Military City, USA, the Black News Network. We bring you the news from a Black perspective. I do not own the rights to the music that I play, but I do own the rights to what I say. Let's get cracking. We need some answers, y'all. You can get my book on Amazon. Leave the dirt in the cotton field. I want to thank you for listening to the Black News Network.